Call to order the Green Mountain Care Board's hearing of April 4th, 2025. We have one agenda item, which is the UVM settlement proposal, which we discussed a couple times. I don't think there's anything for us to do other than to discuss and deliberate on the motion. I'm sorry, on the proposal, and to take public comment and to see if there's a motion. I guess I'm willing to start. What I will say is that there was significant public comment, many in support of the proposal, as an opportunity to support primary care and Blue Cross, and recognizing that UVM needs to be a part of our solution to our healthcare problems here. Others felt that the care board wasn't holding UVM sufficiently accountable. And the public comment caused all of us to deeply reflect on what led to this situation and where we need to go. As I've said repeatedly, we are in a healthcare crisis. We have healthcare costs that debilitate families, harm population health, and threaten the survival of our non-hospital healthcare providers. UVM's commercial prices and commercial revenue growth is a contributor to that problem and has been for years. In 2023, the Care Board correctly, in my opinion, limited UVM's price growth and then enforced 100% of a budget overage, which led to lower commercial prices for Vermonters at UVM. What ensued after that is a black mark. UVM cut sensitive life-saving services, frightened our community members and its own patients, blamed its regulator in a coordinated media campaign, including YouTube videos, town halls, and in the halls of the State House. And as came to light more recently, some of the executives then accepted large bonuses after that. I believe that was wrong. It exhibited an isolationist mentality, was tone deaf, and demonstrated a lack of judgment. We're in a serious crisis, and we're potentially looking at deep double-digit rate increases again, and numerous providers and our largest insurer have very real solvency risks, including because of the potential increases in commercial rates. When the state needed our largest $3 billion health network to step to the plate, it failed to do so. What happened next, I think, really speaks to the character of the state. Legislative leaders, providers, the care board itself, public advocates, and most importantly, the public rebuked UVM's conduct in the decisions. After that, UVM's board members stepped in, and I began discussing some of the issues and concerns I think the whole state had with some of the leadership at the board and at the network and the medical center and management. We expressed our concerns. We all agreed something needed to change, and change rather dramatically. I think we also, the public and everyone else, recognizes that there are strong leaders at UVM. It is filled with an incredible staff, has amazing nurses, remarkable physicians, and provide life-saving critical services to our state. This proposal does not condone what UVM did. In my opinion, it does the opposite. It requires UVM to look outward at other participants in the healthcare system, for UVM to get a liaison to oversee budget submissions and communications, and to revamp its operations. UVM and its leaders have publicly apologized and vowed to be a part of the solution that Vermont needs. It has recognized that it needs to conduct its business differently, and the Care Board and UVM need to have a working relationship that is productive and meets the needs of Vermonters at this time. I think the steps that UVM has taken are significant and important, and I respect that they've done it. People have raised concern in some of the public comment that it's a charm offensive, but I take UVM at their word, I take their leadership at their word, and believe that we need to give them a second chance. Their board of directors have shown up, have taken leadership, and are committed to the principles and spirit of the proposal. UVM, I anticipate, and I think they anticipate, will follow through on the promises and spirit of this commitment, and no one will have any tolerance to the contrary. So I thank UVM for trying to make a path and find a way that helps. They've done so. Some of the other public comments spoke to the fact that this isn't enough, that the state needs deeper price reductions, and I don't disagree. There's going to need to be other things that happen in the very, very near-term future if we're going to avoid really significant rate increases. This is part of it. It is not going to be the solution to everything we have ailing us in our healthcare system. So I wanted to say that, and I wanted to make a motion, and then I'll open it up to other board members if there's a second. So I move that the Green Mountain Care Board approve UVM's settlement proposal.
A second.
Second.
Thank you. I'll open up to the other board members for comment and discussion.
I can go next. Thank you for your words, Owen. I also wanted to echo my appreciation for the public comments and the public engagement. It's really important for us to hear from Vermonters and understand what people are thinking and feeling and their general thoughts on everything that we do. For me, what's important about this particular agreement is that it is a settlement of litigation, in particular, the UVM appeals. That makes it different for me as a lawyer than other agreements or orders that we may make as board members. With every litigation settlement, there are pros and cons that each party has to weigh about moving forward with litigation versus settling. And those pros and cons are developed in consultation with their attorneys. This aspect also makes it a bit challenging, I think, for the public, of course, because you can't include the public in your private negotiations, nor your discussions with your attorneys about the pros and cons of litigation without waiving that attorney-client privilege. So I think that's a difficult aspect of this for the public to appreciate given those limitations. For me, it's also important that there are things included in the settlement that we potentially could not order or would be outside of our authority. So I think there are things that we get that we couldn't necessarily otherwise get. In terms of the substance of the settlement, the independent monitor and the consultants are actually something which I think are extremely important. And I hope that this process moving forward is taken very seriously by the UVM leadership and the UVM Board of Trustees. There needs to be a commitment to improve and evolve and become more efficient and cost effective. And that is a challenge for any organization because it involves unlearning what you are currently doing and challenging your assumptions about yourself and your organization. Most people in most organizations find that challenging without outside help. And so I hope that these two components of the settlement agreement will bring that rigor and ability to challenge assumptions and really think outside the box. We need to innovate in this state if we're going to survive. In addition, of course, the support for the primary care practices, locking in rate cuts for several years, and resolving the Blue Cross Blue Shield issues for some of the years are important components of this agreement as well. With any process of this type, where it comes to the board members more or less fully formed, like that's challenging. Having been on negotiating teams for the board in the past, it's always challenging to then bring that to your colleagues and share, you know, kind of how you got to where you were. But I also trust that my colleagues who negotiated this settlement, and I trust that they, as skilled negotiators, have done their best for the board and the state of Vermont. And so while there are things about the settlement that I might have done differently or that I might prefer, I'm not going to second guess those assessments because you really can't second guess those assessments if you haven't been in the day-to-day of the conversations. So, and, you know, as I've said in the past with some of the federal agreements, you can't really do a five-way negotiation. That is really not a way to approach it. So, you know, certainly there are things that perhaps I would have wanted or that I'd like to see changed. I will support the settlement as it's presented. Thanks, that's all I have.
Robin, if you don't mind, I actually might make a friendly amendment.
Please.
I I went too fast and our counsel advised me I should have made a clearer motion.
Yeah,
So let me remake the motion. I move to approve the proposed and corrected settlement agreement filed by the University of Vermont Medical Center and the University of Vermont Health Network on March 31st, 2025, and authorize the chair to sign the agreement on the board's behalf.
I'll second the friendly amendment.
Great, thank you. All right. Other board comment?
Sure. I'll go. Want to thank Robin for her thoughtful comments. They're always enlightening and I appreciate them. I also want to thank Chair Foster and Member Holmes for their efforts in seeking this agreement. And I want to thank everyone who spoke up at public meetings and submitted public comments. I found those contributions informative, enlightening, and persuasive. And I agree, our healthcare system is in crisis. Dr. Bruce Hammery noted last year, following his team's extensive review of our state, that we were in a crisis. In his concluding commentary, he used the image of the Lukla airport in Nepal, known for having the most dangerous runway in the world. It's a difficult runway to navigate because it's short, surrounded by steep mountains and affected by unpredictable winds. Bruce offered a path toward a reimagined, high quality, accessible, and affordable health system for Vermont. He acknowledged the challenges ahead and emphasized that time was of the essence. During community meetings, he'd often joke, there is a runway to where you want to go, but it's short. At least it's not as short as that one, he added, nodding toward the image of the Nepalese airport. In later meetings, he continued to discuss the possibility of administrative changes at the federal level that could shorten the 3 to 5 year timeline that he spoke of. He warned of 25% tariffs on healthcare supplies. Possible cuts, though he felt unlikely, to federal programs that support care that's needed now, other programs that help prevent disease and disability, and still others that develop future treatments and cures. He was wise, but no oracle could have predicted the tariffs over 50% that we learned about on Tuesday this week. Some people had raised their concerns about the loss of federal subsidies that have protected individuals and small businesses in Vermont from the full impact of premium increases. Others expressed concerns about cuts to Medicaid and Medicare funding. But no one imagined cuts of $200 to $300 million per year. And few of us anticipated the economic and societal uncertainty we now face daily. None of us foresaw all this happening at once. So it turns out our runway is much, much shorter than Nepal's. Additionally, it's being shaken further daily by individuals who mistakenly believe that the principles of efficiency, which are applicable to manufacturing, can also be applied to caring for people. So today, here we are. We're here to vote on a one-time settlement of roughly $50 million. Just a week ago, I would have concluded that this agreement is insufficient. However, given the enormity of what we face, and realizing that if this agreement fails, there's no guarantee of anything better, and the federal losses will still come, I've concluded that continued litigation or further negotiation is both futile and a distraction from the work that must be done going forward. For this reason, I think this agreement is the most concrete thing we can do today to start moving forward. And I'm in favor of it.
I can pop on. Well, I think like everyone, I've put a lot of thought into this, and I had a fair amount prepared to talk about, but I feel as if at this point, so much has been said that I agree with. So I'm going to try to trim my remarks down here for a moment. I really appreciate all three of your comments and analysis thus far. I just want to, I think, Robin, this is your last hearing at the board, and I really want to say I sincerely appreciate your analysis through your testimony today. I am completely in agreement that innovation out of this really challenging point in our state is the way forward, and I hope that this is this submission of this proposal and it seems like our likely vote to agree with it is a sincere and sustained effort to move in a new direction. I've been thinking about this sort of tipping point since I arrived on the board. It really seemed like, wow, we are at a precipice and about to tip over. And I think we've passed the tipping point for healthcare expense growth and sustainability in Vermont. I think Bruce highlighted that through his work. I think we've been talking about that. I have significant concern we're on the downward slope, and I think all of us lose a lot of sleep over this on a daily basis, on a nightly basis. Our really high commercial costs in Vermont are impacting areas throughout the state. Schools, taxes, small businesses, nonprofits, other healthcare organizations. Chair Foster talks about this frequently with the FQHCs struggling to pay their commercial insurance rates. Individuals, small businesses, medium business, large businesses, that this is a huge economic impact. And I think we have hit and surpassed the ceiling of commercial revenue that the hospitals receive, which is commercial cost to Vermonters. And I think Robin said it simply but very effectively, that this is a time to innovate, and we are all going to need to think differently. UVM Health Network will need to think differently. We need to move from the idea that, you know, when you look up MBA programs in healthcare, it's about revenue generation. We need to move from revenue generation to effective and efficient delivery of healthcare at the lowest cost that we can achieve. That's a challenge because that's not how our healthcare system has developed in our country. And so the resources that are available to organizations typically focus on revenue generation. Iodine, for instance, is a tool to help generate more revenue through applying artificial intelligence to clinical documentation to identify areas that providers could add additional codes for care delivered. Yes, but it generates more revenue. And so I've been thinking a lot about this revenue equals patient care and how that's such a massive oversimplification of this complicated relationship. Yes, revenue and patient care are on two sides of a mathematical equation, but there's so much more than just patient care. There's volume, there's coding, there's charges, there's service line shifts. There's things like emergency department visits are way up in multiple areas of the state, and primary care access is way down. If you could take care of the same patient in those two different locations, there's a huge difference in the amount of revenue generation. But actually, for many patients, it would be far optimal to be cared for in their primary care. The one other thing I wanted to sort of mention is this phrase that I've heard around nonprofit healthcare, both in Vermont and outside Vermont, which is no margin, no mission. And I would like to think about challenging that phrase, that margin in healthcare in nonprofit services is profit. So we'll just sort of rephrase that as no profit, no mission. And to me, that sounds like holding the mission hostage to the profit. If there's not a profit, we don't have a mission. I would say we need to be mission first. We need to focus on mission and figure out how to make the sustainability work on the other side. And I know that's really challenging because there's risk involved in that calculation. But we need to have a mission first healthcare delivery system in Vermont. Thanks.
I guess the beauty of going last is that so much has already been said and there's really very little for me to add. I echo the sentiments shared by my very thoughtful and insightful fellow board members. I do want to add that I've read all of the public comments. They were incredibly powerful, thoughtful, and I also appreciated them. And I appreciate the time that people took to submit them to us. We are in a crisis. This is a very sobering moment. All settlements are compromises. Neither side got everything that they wanted. But I do think this is an effort to move forward, and we have a lot of work to do as a state. We are in that crisis, and I think, frankly, we need to start today. And for that reason, I think I'll just be concise and say I support this settlement, and I hope that we are turning the page on a new direction and innovation and ways to get us to a healthcare system that we can afford, that provides access to high quality care. And we need to roll up our sleeves and do this. And this settlement helps us do this while shoring up our Blue Cross Blue Shield and our primary care network, and getting consultants and liaisons in there to help us do this. So I support this motion, and I want to thank everybody for their thoughtful comments and all the work that got us to this point.
Turn to the healthcare advocate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, board members. It was a thoughtful conversation and a tough call. I understand why the majority, the unanimous board, is moving in the direction of supporting this agreement, because a lot of what has been said, including we need to move forward, and we need to move forward in a different way, given the crisis that's in front of us. I guess I'll just reflect for 1 second. I have heard hospital leaders, I'll be vague, UVM hospital leaders promise to be good community members in the past. But there's something different about what I heard them say this past time. I don't think I've ever heard them say, recognize how so clearly how much the mistakes that they've made. And so that's noteworthy. And I think the real task going forward is, and I guess I want to appreciate the board members said this clearly, or the chair said this clearly, I think, a feeling of no tolerance, that we can't have tolerance if hospital leaders don't follow through on the commitments of this agreement. So with that, I want to commit that the HCA will monitor this as closely as possible and maintain a focus on the actions of the health network and the process, and will be as vocal as we always are. So thank you, board members. And hey, thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. We'll take public comment via raise the hand. Okay, seeing none. I'm sorry, Ms. Leclerc, how are you? Sorry, I think you're muted or something's wrong. It looks to me like you came off mute, but your mic isn't working. You know what? So, Ms. Claire, we're going to have two other motions as part of this. So unless you object, I can go ahead and call for the vote, and you can make a comment as to the other motions if that's okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Henksler, would you do a roll call vote for us, please?
Yeah, happy to. All right. As to the motion under review, Member Holmes, how do you vote?
Yes.
Member Lunge,
Yes.
Member Merman,
Yes.
Member Walsh,
Yes.
Chair Foster.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. In reliance on, I also move that the board take the following action. In reliance on, in consideration of the actions that the University of Vermont Medical Center and the University of Vermont Health Network are taking pursuant to the settlement agreement, amend the board's October 10, 2024 fiscal year 23 budget enforcement order by splitting the remaining $40,146,078 reduction to commercial NPR equally between the University of Vermont Medical Center's fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27 budgets.
Second.
Is there any board discussion on the second motion? Any comment from the healthcare advocate as to this part of the series of motions?
Nothing from us, Chair Foster, thanks.
And any public comment via raise the hand? All right, Ms. Claire, try it again. Yeah, please. So, Kristen, I think I've seen emails from admin at S6PT. I'm not sure if that's Alex Leclerc or Estelle. Perhaps you can email them to see if we can help get the audio working.
Yeah, it's probably a technical issue, Owen, on her end. And
Okay,
that
we've all
email's
had
mine.
I'll send an email.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 I
Aye. And the motion carries. Last, I move that the board take the following action. In reliance on and consideration of the actions that the University of Vermont Medical Center and the University of Vermont Health Network are taking pursuant to the settlement agreement, decline to take enforcement action or other remedial corrective action with respect to the University of Vermont Medical Center's fiscal year 24 net patient revenue budget overage.
Second.
Second.
Any board discussion? Any comment from the healthcare advocate?
Nothing from us.
And any public comment? And Alex or Estelle, if you want to send in another written comment just to make sure you don't get lost, feel free to do so. But all right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 I
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries. We also have some, I'm not sure if it's new or old business, it's probably both. Member Lunge's last day with the care board is today. She has had a lengthy career of dedicated public service to our healthcare system and to the state of Vermont. It started after law school, and she worked in legislative council for the legislature. She later was appointed by Governor Shumlin to be the Director of Healthcare Reform and was 3 times appointed to the Green Mountain Care Board by 2 different governors. Her accomplishments are widely known and recognized, and she's been a wonderful colleague, and I want to thank Member Lunge for her service.
Thank you. I had a few things I wanted to say, so can I go first?
Please.
Great, thanks. So as I think everybody knows, today's my last board meeting. I joined the board because I felt like I could make a difference. And this is a hard job. There are no right answers, and it's often like walking in sand. You slide backwards with every forward movement you try to make. And while the board members tend to be the focus of the public and media attention, we don't have the hardest job in this organization, nor are we the most important people. The staff of the Green Mountain Care Board are the unsung heroes here. Without our dedicated and extremely hardworking staff, this organization could not function, and board members would not be able to do our jobs. Any mistakes we currently make would be amplified tenfold. So I wanted to use my last board meeting to say thank you to our staff, past and present, and also to my fellow board members, past and present. This is also, I think, my last day as a state employee. As Chair Foster mentioned, I've been a state employee for over 20 years. I started actually as a trial court law clerk out of law school and was the chief law clerk in Washington County before I moved to Vermont Legal Aid. I went to law school because I wanted to return to Vermont. I grew up in Brattleboro and serve Vermonters. And my career really started at Vermont Legal Aid, where I served victims or survivors, really, of domestic violence. I don't really share a lot about my personal life, despite being a public servant, because it's not really about me, quite frankly. I think it's about every single one of us doing our best to come together, support Vermonters, and also to care for Vermonters. Sorry, I'm getting emotional because this really has been my life's work. So really, I think I'll just shut it down now and say thank you to everyone and for giving me this opportunity to serve Vermonters.
May I say something, Chair Foster?
Please do.
I don't want to get emotional, so I will try not to. But I want to thank you, Robin. From the first day that you joined the board, you've been an incredible asset to all of us. You've brought incredible historical knowledge of Vermont statute, of legislative intent, because you were there, you actually knew. Strong legal acumen, wisdom and experience about wide-ranging state health policies, an incredible work ethic. I don't know anybody who works as hard as you do all the time, a willingness to roll up your sleeves 24/7 to solve intractable problems, skills in listening and compromise. And as you just showed, and it's obvious to all of us, a deep, genuine caring about Vermonters in the state that you grew up in. You have been a true public servant in all senses of that word, and I'm going to miss you greatly, but I'm really thankful that you're going to continue to serve Vermont in your new role. And I just wanted to say thank you also for everything that you taught me and for everything that you've given to this board and to the state, and you will absolutely be missed. So thank you for all that you do and will continue to do.
If it's all right, I would also like to thank Robin. Her work ethic is inspirational. And I've learned a tremendous amount from her. In many, many ways, because not only has she been informative and helped me understand things about this role, she's pushed me to clarify my thinking and to think more deeply. And I value thinking with people deeply. I'll miss that from Robin. It's uncommon and much appreciated. And I hope that if I call her up, we could continue to think together.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to say something briefly. I was trying to encourage my fellow Green Mountain Care Board staffers to go on camera so that Robin could see our faces at her last board meeting. So if anyone wants to join me, that was why I came on camera. I owe my entire career to Robin Lunge. I've worked with her for 13 years. She's an incredible boss, mentor, supervisor, teacher, friend, and I'm gonna miss you very much, Robin.
Thank you, Marissa, and you're one of the best hires I've ever made in my life.
Marissa isn't the only one who owes her career in state government to Robin Lynch, and just you inspire me every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
See, there's a public comment. Ms. Henkin.
Good morning, everybody. And I am in pajamas with a sweatshirt on, and I'm welcoming Robin to our AA, which is our Alumni Association for the Green Mountain Care Board. And I thought she might join me in the pajama wearing late morning group. But no, Robin took on a new challenge, not a surprise. And Robin, you know, I remember when I met you from Anya and she said, oh, you guys are kind of alike. And then once I knew you, I said, no, you work a lot harder. You're a better bridge builder. And you have many traits that I wish I could emulate, but I'm much less patient a person, unfortunately. But I really congratulate you on moving on. I'll see you sometime in Europe. We'll do a hike or somewhere fun. And I'm glad you became a dog owner again. That's what scared me. When you got the dog, I thought, she's not just gonna retire and go to Greece. But congratulations on everything. And it's really been great watching you become so skillful at everything you've done with the board and how you've endured some really hard work and you've made it look like it was almost fun. So thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Judy.
I'll go a little out of order here. There's a number of hands. Dr. Merman. I think you're muted, Dave.
Sorry, I had sort of awkward timing on an internet fail there for a second. So I guess I know you probably the shortest period of time of anybody on the board, but it's been an impactful couple of years. I really, for those who don't know, Robin and I spent a bunch of time working together on this AHEAD model, which I would say complicated and challenging and completely describes what the experience was like. It's a complicated model, and there's a lot of complicated negotiations and discussions, but I can't tell you in words, especially considering I worked till midnight last night, how much I appreciate your mentorship and And yes, your role as an incredibly dedicated public servant, the time and effort and passion that you have thrown into your work, in my short view of it, which I think really is such a narrow window, is truly inspiring. So thank you for all of that.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you for working for till midnight last night. I could not do your job.
It doesn't
Ms.
make speaking
Jones?
the next day very easy, I'll tell you that.
Well, you're always good at it, Dave. Pat Jones?
I thank you for giving us some time to share our thoughts about Robin. I've known Robin a long time. For most of that time, she has really been wholly dedicated to improving healthcare in the state of Vermont. And as others have said, it can be complex, controversial, unruly. It is extremely challenging work that's under constant scrutiny. I'm going to repeat what a lot of others have said because it's true. I would be hard pressed to find anyone who is more intelligent, more thoughtful, is definitely more hardworking, more collaborative, who shows more grace under fire, who has been more of a mentor to so many people, and who is a professionally generous person. We will miss you so much, Robin. It has been an honor of my life to have worked with you, and I certainly hope our paths continue to cross in the future. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Pat.
It's really nice seeing so many old friends here today. Ina Bacchus?
Thank you. Pat said it very succinctly that you were a professionally generous person, Robin, and it is one thing to devote yourself to service the way you have done and the way that's been described this morning. It's really another thing to support others that want to do the same. And I want to talk about your generosity in terms of your intellect, your generosity with your time, and particularly your generosity with your patience. Patience is also something that we need to hold for ourselves sometimes, but you were very generous with your patience. My first day working on healthcare reform in Vermont was in Robin's office. I think it was before Robin had even arrived to her office. And then she came to work to find someone with no experience whatsoever in the work and only an interest in serving the state. And as others have said, your mentorship in that way is powerful and is why many of us have been able to work in this field and to carry on in this field. So thank you for that. And thank you for being so generous in so many ways. And I'll just say that as we continue to talk about healthcare reform in Vermont and talk about Healthcare Reform 101 or the basics of healthcare, Robin is woven into all of those elements, from drafting legislation herself to then implementing that legislation, iterating on it, iterating on the project of healthcare reform in the state for so many years. Congratulations, Robin, and it's really exciting to see what you're going to do next.
Thank you.
Sarah Kinsler.
Thanks, Chair Foster. As you and others here today have noted, Robin has been a tireless public servant working to improve healthcare for Vermonters for many, many years. As many have also noted, her expertise and depth of knowledge in doing that are just unmatched. All of this accumulated knowledge, coupled with a willingness to dive really deeply into the details of regulatory matters, data analyses, policy proposals, new ideas, have just made her an invaluable leader in our field. And during her time at GMCB and prior, she's mentored so many people, myself included, and in doing so has raised up subsequent generations who will make their own contributions to our work. So thank you, Robin, for the leadership, wisdom, expertise that you've brought to GMCB in Vermont all these years. I know that Vermont will continue to benefit from these in your new role, and congratulations. And I also, while I'm here, want to note that today is also the last board meeting for a longtime GMCB staffer, Michelle DeRee, who has done so much in her contributions to the work of the board and to reform over the years. So I look forward to crossing paths with both of them for a long time to come.
Thank you. And it is lovely to see all our former employees here today, but I would ask that Susan Barrett send them some of our openings. We'd love to see you all again. I'm recognizing significant talent on the call here today. On that note, Director Lindberg.
It's actually acting Director Lindberg at the moment, for the record. Long time listener, first time public commenter. So thanks for having me. So Robin, I just want to express my deep appreciation and respect for you professionally, especially the things that we have done together directly. You know, the people who get it know that these numbers have faces and belly buttons behind them. And that's something I've always appreciated about how seriously you take that charge. And so my most important thanks is to you as a Vermonter and taxpayer. So just, I know what it takes to put in this kind of time. So live long and prosper.
Thank you, Sal.
Brendan Krause.
Thank you, Chair Foster. I will be fast. I feel like I'm probably the most recent new colleague of Robin, so I have the least standing to make statements, but thanks for the opportunity. I'd just like to add on to everything that's been said and just say I have always appreciated the way that you have such great insight, even when you're disagreeing, with such cheerful humor. And so it's always been refreshing that even when we were in the most difficult throes of the head negotiation internally and with CMMI, you always had the right thing to say in terms of your content, but it was just nice to have the refreshing humor that you brought to those tense situations. So thank you for that. And I look forward to continuing our friendship in your new role.
Thanks, Brendan. Thanks for being here.
Mike Barber.
Yeah, Robin, I can't add to what everyone else has already said, but I just wanted to say thanks. I've learned so much from you during our time together. So see you this afternoon.
Thanks, Mike.
I have to admit, I was nervous Mike was going to tell us we were doing something wrong. Thank you, Mike. Jean Stetter.
Hey, thanks. I just have one thing to add, Robin. I just want to have us pause and listen to how Robin used her last comments of our last meeting to celebrate the staff. It's powerful and it speaks volumes to how she is as a leader, as a Vermonter, and as a human. So just, I just want to pause and note that because it's very powerful.
Thanks, Jean. And thank you everybody for your kind words. And I think if I do have a legacy in state government, it is all of the people that I've mentored, and I'm very proud of that.
I like the Bill Belichick of Vermont healthcare. The big tree.
Sports balls analogy, but I think that's one of them, right? That's like some sport you're talking about, somebody who plays a sport. I'm notorious for not knowing when the Super Bowl is, so, you know.
You've taught me a lot about healthcare, so maybe I'll have you over for some Sunday football this fall. reciprocate. And it is not just Robin leaving today, it is Michelle Degree. And we did also want to thank Michelle Degree for all of her significant contributions. Michelle, I don't remember how many years you've been here. I think it's about 8. Is that right?
Almost 8.5. Yep.
Yeah. Michelle has handled some of our hardest tasks, especially since I've been here. Working on the AHEAD model is an incredibly daunting task, and we are short-staffed, and I put it on Michelle to be essentially one of the only staff members in the lead of all of that work for the last year or so. It's an incredibly challenging model to negotiate and understand and plan for and do all of that work, and Michelle did it capably, and we thank Michelle for all of her significant contributions as well. In some ways, Michelle's getting off easy because a 9-year board member is leaving as well, but Michelle is an incredibly significant contributor to everything we do. And we also thank Michelle so much for what she's done for us and wish her a very bright future at Mathematica, and she will be around. So thank you, Michelle, as well.
Thank you, Chair Foster. And also just Robin, if you do go have a sports ball moment with Chair Foster, make sure that it's for the Eagles. Go Birds.
Michelle would also be capable at explaining the nuances of football to you. Probably better than me. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending today's hearing, and Michelle and Robin for what you've done for the state. Robin, I'll let you make the final motion.
I move we adjourn.
A second. All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Everyone have